Alright everybody, welcome back to another Xvault gaming video. Xvault here, and today I'm going to do something a little different, of course. Not really different as is to be expected, but obviously not a lot of news right now this time of year. Just really hit and miss, but we're going to do a top 10, and that's going to be my top 10, my personal top 10 games of 2021. So I don't want to beat around the bush, I don't want to make you wait, so let's go ahead and jump to it. Alright, so like I was saying, I want to do my top 10 list of the best games of 2021 in my personal opinion. And what that means is, let's get some qualifiers out of the way here real quick. What that means is games that I have personally played. Unto completion. And what that means. So the games that are also in the running are games that even have an upgrade that were, let's say, Series X or PS5 upgrade for this year, but it wasn't an upgrade to the X or PS5 as of 2020. So it would have to have the upgrade happen in 2021. So there are a few of them in there, and I'll give my reasons why and everything like that. So let's just go ahead and kick off this list. We're going to start from 10 to 1. Number 10 being Far Cry 6. First of all, I want to say before I get into Far Cry is the fact that there's a lot of games that came out this year. A lot of them I didn't play, and a lot of them that deserve to be on this list, probably even higher than the ones we have here, possibly. But again, I want to be honest. I don't want to just cherry pick and assume games are good, even though I put like 10 hours into it, or I haven't beaten it, or I haven't touched it at all. I'm not going to do that to you. So, number 10 being Far Cry 6. That is still really great being this high on the list. It made the list, right? This game is still really good. It was a lot of fun. I played it to completion. I'm still a couple of trophies shy. We'll see if we can get those, of getting the platinum. But it is at number 10 just due to the fact that, it's not my favorite Far Cry. I was expecting a lot from this one with a brand new map. It's supposed to be bigger, more to do, this and that. I felt like they missed the mark on certain aspects of it. It was still a great game, enough for me to want to play it, enough for me to have a lot of fun with it, but I didn't really care for the story as much. I am one of those that I feel like number 5 is my number 1 of Far Cry's if we're going to rank those. So I was really just kind of disappointed in that aspect of things. Everything else was fine. I just felt like the story really struggled a little bit. Having no human companions, it's only pets only, and most of them really didn't hit the mark for me as far as being super useful in my opinion, or powerful, until you get the leopard, the panther, so to speak, and then you get some trinkets and everything that kind of work well with the panther, and that was really helpful. But aside from that, the rest of the pets and all that was not that great. That tried and true formula, which I do love, but it seemed to miss that mark. However, still was a lot of fun, and again, made the list. It squeaked in at number 10. Moving on, we're going to go to number 9. Number 9 being Pokemon Unite. Now, this game came out on the Switch first and is now available on Android and iOS, so feel free to check that out as well. I am a connoisseur of all types of games. I don't play FPS games only, RPGs only, sports only, racers only, sims only. I play everything, and this being a MOBA, multiplayer online battle arena game. So this game I had my eye on for quite some time. When I knew it was coming out, I'm like, this should be great. It really is great. It's a fantastic game. It's fun. It's free. The extortionate part of this is why it keeps dropping is, A, it's on the Nintendo Network, which is not that great. There's a lot of lag spikes and everything like that. Even if you plug your Switch dock into an actual hard line, it still has a lot of lag. Delayed inputs with stuff like that. Something you want to be very crisp on when it comes to the MOBA. Now, I haven't tried it on the iOS or Android, so I'm not going to be lying to you guys out there that it's bad or not good on there. Let me know if you've tried it on iOS or Android, and if it performs a little better there or not. I'm very curious, especially those with maybe newer phones and stuff. But it has a really great cast of characters. But it does try to price gouge you with those skins and outfits and all that. It's just way too high. But if you can scoot that all to the side, this is a really enjoyable game. It's fairly balanced overall, especially being so new for a MOBA type of game. So I had a lot of fun with this. Eventually, I might have to get back to it if the time does allow. Haha, I with my backlog, we'll see. It's really difficult to keep going back to a game. There's like a handful of games I will always go back to. They're quick and easy to get into. But number 9, that was just a really, really good game. I do recommend checking it out, though. So whether you be a fan of Pokemon or just MOBAs in general, or if you're a fan of both, right up your alley. Moving on to number 8, we're going to go with, and don't kill me here, don't throw the stones at me too hard here, but Resident Evil 8, The Village, or Village. But this game was really good. I didn't have a problem with it. I felt like it peaked in the beginning and it died down, in my opinion. It was really good in the castle scenes. You had the vampire ladies, just a really good level, and the boss fight there was fairly well done. And then you get to move on, and you're getting out a little bit more, doing this, doing that. Then you get into the creepy dollhouse thing. You got the baby crawling around. You know what I'm talking about. The first time experiencing that was super cool. The doll boss fight was super awesome. I mean, at this point, I was having a smile on my face, having a heck of a time. Soon after, you're going through and everything, and about the time you get to the fish boss and that whole level, I was like, what is going on here? I'm not sure I'm digging this. And then you keep going through, and then I think it wasn't Heisenberg. I forget his name already. I think it started with an H. You know who I'm talking about. You finally eventually get to him. I did not like the industrial part. I did not like the maziness of it all. I didn't care for the boss fight too much. I didn't care for that character too much. It just didn't resonate with me. It really didn't. And then it kind of picked up again when you get to play, spoilers here, but when you did get to play Chris towards the end, and then the final fight there and everything, and kind of the revelation of what's going on with Ethan there, I did enjoy that part of it, but there was just the fish guy and the industrial level and that boss and everything just really left a bad taste in my mouth. I didn't even want to play through it again. I beat it. I thought it was a solid game, and again, enough to be up there number 8 because it had some really great aesthetics to it. It works well with the DualSense controllers if you did get lucky enough to get your hands on a PS5. Really some cool quality of life things there, but so be it. Number 8. Moving on to number 7. Number 7 is a game that had immense popularity right when it launched on consoles. It got super popular, hard to get in the servers and all that. I'm talking about Splitgate. Splitgate is a first-person shooter, multiplayer only. No story. It's typically a 3v3 or 4v4. You customize your guy. You got some great guns. It's very smooth, and I love that in FPSs, that smooth, buttery crispness of it. Has some great aesthetics with the portal gun type of system. So you get to shoot those portals like from the Portal games. So you mix that with a little bit of your bowl of Call of Duty, Battlefield, but mostly Halo in there, honestly, that's what it's really akin to. Just a really, really fun game. Fun to have with friends, and it's just solid. You can get really good at it. You can get very creative with it, with the portals and everything, but just a very solid game there. Truly enjoyed that. Spent some time, quality time with that game. And again, the cosmetics aren't that great, honestly, and it could do for a graphic overhaul, graphically, I would say. It felt a little grainy, a little fuzzy to me, but I believe they're supposed to be doing some sort of an upgrade pack eventually if it's not out already, but let me know in the comments below if it is. Maybe I missed that. But once that happens, it'll be even better. But what matters the most is gameplay, in my opinion. So you got gameplay, get those 60 frames per second. Everything else is the cherry on the cake, whether that be 4K or 8K or whatever the case is. But that's just kind of what we're looking at there. But really a solid game, and it's a free-to-play game. So, like I said, and just go ahead and download this game if you have the ability to. I think it's on most consoles and PC as well, so check that out. Guarantee you're going to have a good time if you do like those FPS games, if you're a big fan of games like Halo and stuff as well. So check that out. That made my number 7. Moving on to number 6, we had a game that really surprised me here, and that is going to be Demon Slayer. I'm not going to pronounce the actual title after that because I don't have it in front of me and I don't want to slaughter the name. I used to be a huge, huge fighter fan back in the day. The Street Fighters, the Tekkens, everything else. And I just eventually fell out of that. I just not my cup of tea typically. Like, I like playing them, but only for a short stint. This game, what is awesome about this game is not only is it just a fighter, it's a very competent and fun fighter. If you're a fan of the Demon Slayer universe on top of that, this game plays homage to everything there. It's so fun to sit there and do your moves and water breathing, first form, 10th form, whatever the case is, beast breathing, third fang, all this stuff is really fun. And then it has, of course, the entirety of Season 1 and the movie for the train. Again, I forget the title off the top of my head right now, but you know what I'm talking about. But it has everything, the boss fights, the dialogue, the voice acting. It's so good. It's so solid. I picked this up at a great price around Black Friday. And it was just a great, great game, and I still like it. And I usually with fighting games, like if I have to get it, I'll play for a little bit, sell it. This one, I'm like, this thing's special. It has great fighters. It's super balanced overall, in my opinion. It's a great, great game, and I just love playing the story. You can replay it, higher difficulties, and just really get, really just this intuitive control for the fight scheme on this. But just the graphics are beautiful, the fighting, the scenery, it just works so well for this type of game. And just, if you are even remotely a fan of Demon Slayer, pick this game up, especially if you get it at a great price. You will not be disappointed. Just so fun. So that does come in at my number 6 there. Moving on to number 5 is a game that came out, and I saw some videos on it, and I'm like, this looks too good to be true. This looks too fun to be true. It's got to probably play like garbage. So I kind of went against my gut feeling there. I'm like, I don't know. But anyways, that number 5 being Chivalry 2. I never played the first one, but Chivalry 2, I was super surprised. This is a lot of fun, especially if you got some buddies you play with on the same team, and you just pick a multitude of classes from different, halberds, swords, broadswords, crossbows, bow and arrows, javelins, you name it. And you got so many different ways you can utilize those weapons with momentum and how you attack that. You can pick up items, you can pick up loaves of bread and throw it at people, rocks, you name it. You got kicking, you got other catapults you can use on the battlefield depending on the map. Just a really just fun kind of chaotic game that you can just really immerse yourself into. Just the voice acting's kind of over the top and hilarious on some of that. If you check some of my gameplay out, you definitely do. It's pretty hilarious, but really just a good game. I was super surprised. And again, you're going to have more fun with this game the more friends you have with you, rather than just kind of jumping in that multiplayer aspect by yourself. You're still going to have fun, but it's just going to be taken to another level if you're playing with friends or family on this game, and you're a fan of that time period too, with medieval times. Just a really solid title, solid pickup, and I believe it's down like 20-25 pretty often right now on sale. So just a great, find and a great play and all that. So highly recommend on my end, but I just want to share that with you all out there as well. So go ahead and check that out, Chivalry 2. Let's move on to number 4. Now, this is where it starts coming in. I know you probably think I might be a little bit crazy, but I have to put it up here because it's so good. We had an upgrade for Ghost of Tsushima. And not only did we have the upgrade for the PS5, but we also had the DLC for it. The game is so good to replay through, and is actually, if you played the PS4 version and you have your trophies and save file, it transfers over and your trophies pop for that, and you can go straight to the DLC. The DLC, I would not recommend getting over there until you're just about done with the game. The enemies are a little tougher and everything like that, but there's so much more nuanceness from this DLC as well. But the game, to replay this game again, heightened with everything, 60 frames per second, it's just such a beauty to behold. It's so fun to get back to. Like, you remember it, and sometimes you think, well, do I have rose-tinted glasses on? Maybe I did, but I wanted to play the DLC regardless, and I never did jump into the multiplayer aspect of it yet when that came out after I was done. So what I decided to do is do it and get into it. Well, the moment I got into it, I'm like, wow, why did I even stop playing this game? It's just fun to go back to, right? It's just so good. I can't explain it enough. You've got so many paths. I feel like this is like almost, I know there's more to Assassin's Creed, but I feel like this is done right. My main complaint with Assassin's Creed games, especially as of late from Odyssey and Valhalla, and I know some of you will disagree, but it's so bloated. There's too much content. There's too much side content. This is perfect. Every single side piece of this is really woven in to the main story. The characters you interact with integrate within the main story. It's not a constant fetch quest, or I'm just going to get this from it. It makes sense. It makes you want to do it. If you're invested in the lore, you're invested in the story, it makes sense to do these, and you're going to have a lot of fun. Tons of skills to unlock. You ride horses. The side stuff just is so good and fun to do. I like even taking a spa bath. I like doing the haiku stuff because it's just something different. I love playing the flute and moving around with moving the controller. It's everything about it is a legacy, is a classic, and it deserves to be on here with the upgrade included with the DLC. That's why it makes my list right here. That's why it's number 4. I cannot recommend this game enough, as well as the rest of the games I'm going to recommend right now as well. But moving on to number 3, I really have to keep kind of going back and forth on this. So, like I said, what I have to do for number 3 is Final Fantasy VII Intergrade. Now, again, this is a game that came out the previous year, but this is the upgraded PS5 version. This game has, the enhanced visuals, really crisp visuals. I didn't think it could get any better, honestly, especially that quick. But the night and day difference, almost night and day, as far as the crispness and everything else, and the fidelity of it, makes it that warranted. It really does. So what a way to kind of want to revisit that. It was my game of the year last year, by the way. I believe it came out in 2020. If it came out in 2019, I apologize. But the year it did come out, it was my game of the year. It's very hard not to even put it at number 1. That's how good this game is. Whether you're a Final Fantasy fan or not, you need to play this game. It also came out with the game of, well, you have to purchase separate, but the episode Yuffie, basically, right? That is such a great piece of DLC for it. I hate even calling it DLC. I'll continue to call it DLC because it is just an added story part. It's not terribly long or anything like that, but you get to have some cool, neat mini games. You get to have a lot to do, and the story itself is just so good, and how it just interweaves itself into the main story as well. I cannot wait for the next part of this, part 2, whatever they call it. It's so good. This is just another game you have to go out there and play. I promise you have to do that. It's so good. I can't speak enough about this. You've probably heard about it. It is out right now on PC at the time of this recording. So that is great news there. Also, if they just recently changed as well, if you did get this for the PS Plus Game of the Month for the PS4 version, it is now finally eligible for a free PS5 upgrade. So do yourselves a favor, check that out, especially if you want to replay it. It's so good. I can't state that enough. But moving on to number 2, the big number 2 spot was a great game I wasn't 100% sure on, especially when they said it was super difficult. Number 2 being Kena. Kena. I know some of those out there pronounce it as Kena or something, but it is Kena. What a great game, and from indie developers as well. So it's a mix. It's a hybrid mix of Legend of Zelda. I would even compare it to like a Disney Pixar. But it's hard to really pull it away from Legend of Zelda. Because it really plays so close to that. But it's like as if Legend of Zelda, Link, mixed with Disney and Pixar. And you have this great puzzle system for a lot of these things for what it offered. And it had a really cool story. I enjoyed the story. It's a little slow at points. They could obviously do more with the environment and everything like that. But as a whole, this game is just that. Like I said, it's very difficult. It's challenging. I wasn't sure. I'm like, this isn't even on the hardest difficulty. And I am struggling towards the end boss fights. I was struggling, especially the second to last boss fight. That was until I figured out, I didn't look up any guides or anything like that. If you do, you might have a little bit more luck, but you do still have to be quick. You do have to be very timely on your blocks and your parries and everything else. But it's just so good, though, and it makes it so satisfying, such as like the Souls games, right? It's so satisfying when you finally beat that boss, especially if you're not using a guide and you go out there and beat that boss and you've been struggling with that boss. It's so satisfying. The puzzles were some of them were a little bit of a pain. And so once you start really figuring out the world of Kena, you really start understanding the puzzles a little bit more, and it gets a little better for you as a whole. But at first I was like, man, what the heck do I do and how do I do it? This game probably is not for everybody because it is very difficult. So don't get your niece and nephew this if they're not a fan of Souls-like games, because they're going to have some difficult times here. It's a little more forgiving in regards to not restarting the whole level or anything. But, restarting those boss fights can really be a pain, but what a great game. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. The end of the game was fantastic. I can't say more. Go check this game out. It is available digitally and now physically as well. So far, I believe on PlayStation and PC only. I'm not sure if it's on PC 100%. I didn't check that, but I think it should be. But check this game out. It's supposed to be on other platforms down the line as well. We'll see when or how. And then, round of applause, number 1. If I haven't said it yet, you probably know which one this is. We're going to go with Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. This isn't a gimme. This isn't me being a fanboy towards this game. It deserves it in every facet. I shouldn't be made to feel like this game doesn't deserve it, or I'm picking it because I'm being a fanboy. I'm not. I honestly am not. I just want to kind of get that out of the way. I would not recommend a game to you, anybody out there, if I didn't highly recommend it, especially if it's my number 1. I'm not going to do that to you. This game brings it. When I said Disney and Pixar, or a Pixar type of game, this game on the visual aspect level is that and then some. The fact that you can pull in with your device and the Dimensionator and pull yourself from level to level or pieces to pieces in instant loads. The animation with how you attack, with how you stand there idle, the lighting, the ray tracing, the frames per second, the environments, the levels. I know some of the devs out there recently are like, don't call it biomes, they're levels. So I'm going to stick back to levels. If that's what they want it to be called, I'm going to revert back and state levels. I haven't really said too much of biomes myself. Some games do call for that type of speak, but for the most part, they are levels, right? So it just had a really great story, too. It had a great... it didn't just shoehorn in the female Lombax, right? It didn't shoehorn in the other female robot Kit and stuff like that. It all made sense. It's great how they kind of interwove and kind of swapped Clank and swapped Kit and Ratchet and, everybody else involved. It's just really good. Dr. Nefarious, the alternate version of himself that's much more evil and stuff like that. So there's just other antagonists as well. But just so fun. Every level is so fun. It comes to life on its own. It really does. And it's still, if a game is 8 to 10 hours, to me that's a sweet spot. Especially if you are somebody over the age of I would say 25 and you have kids and a family. To me that's a sweet spot. I don't have the time to really go into games like Witcher 3 and Assassin's Creed and stuff like that anymore. I just don't. So if anybody does, more power to you, and that's great. But I truly feel like for those of us that are in the adult stages and have that, sort of lifestyle, if you have a spouse and kids or whatever the case is, or anything else going up and a 40-hour plus a week job and stuff like that, anywhere from 10 to 20 hours is honestly a really good sweet spot. And anything after that's kind of a struggle. That's why a lot of folks just go, hey, I'm going to get into a multiplayer game, put in an hour here and there, and call it good. They just don't have the time to get into everything or commit to that, right? So yeah, just has to be that. And again, these are all games that I have played. I know I don't have Returnal on there. I don't have Halo on there. I don't have Forza, Flight Simulator, anything like that. I'm primarily a PlayStation player, and that's why I haven't even tried those games. I have not had time. I have a heck of a backlog. I haven't even popped in Hades. I have Hades not even unopened because I don't have the time to get to it. I'm trying to devote some time to Yakuza Like a Dragon and I hate to say it, but Fortnite's Battle Pass because Spider-Man's in it, so I got to work on that. I all sorts of stuff, right? I go back to as well because I just want to have fun. That's what gaming is about is fun. But I also feel like validity is a major aspect of gaming, and I feel like you shouldn't speak so much onto a game or judge a game or hype up a game unless you've played most of that game. I would say at least 60 to 70% of that game needs to be completed if it does have a campaign. If it's multiplayer, I feel like you should at least get 10 to 12 hours of multiplayer experience before you start hyping it up. If you don't and you got like 3 to 15% completion on a game and you're out there hyping this up and praising it and this and that and it's the best thing ever, I don't take your word to heart. You shouldn't take my word to heart if I was to do the same thing about a game and I haven't really touched it. I'm not going to do that to you guys, so I appreciate that. But that rounds up my list. I'll go over it real quick again. 10 being Far Cry 6, 9 Pokemon Unite, 8 Resident Evil 8, 7 Splitgate, 6 Demon Slayer, 5 Chivalry 2, 4 Ghost of Tsushima, along with the DLC. Director's Cut, basically. Number 3 being Final Fantasy VII Intergrade, number 2 Kena, and number 1 Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. So really a great year. There's going to be even more phenomenal games. It's going to be even tougher for me for the year of 2022, so we'll see what happens there. But thanks for hanging around for this entire list. Much appreciated. You can either agree or disagree with that list. That's what makes opinions so great about your top 10, but definitely let me know your top 10 games of 2022 or 2021 rather in the comments section below, and we'll go ahead and wrap this up, and we'll see you next time on the next Xvault gaming video. And until then, take care.